Welcome to Free Burn. This is Matt Ballard, your host. This is the podcast where we talk all things mental and behavioral health in the first responder community. Real life firefighters, police officers, EMTs and paramedics, clinicians, and doctors. It's time we have the real conversation and burn the stigma behind first responder mental health, one podcast at a time. And welcome back, folks. It's Matt Ballard, Free Burn 2023. Today we have Eric Stephenson with us from the First Responder Peer Support Network, also the All Clear podcast. Glad to have you, brother.
Thank you for having me, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit about Eric. Eric Stephenson is the executive director of the First Response Peer Support Network located in the coast of North Carolina. 30-year vet of the fire service. He's worked as a firefighter, paramedic, lieutenant, and recently retired as a shift captain. So there's a lot more, brother, but I'm going to let you catch up on that. So just tell me a little bit more about the First Response Peer Support Network and you.
So the First Responder Peer Support Network came about after my retirement. My retirement was not how I wanted to leave the fire service. Mental health issues, diagnosed severe complex PTSD, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideations, all the job related stuff that we never want to talk about. After spending 8.5 weeks away from home, trying to get my mental health under control, I had to find a purpose bigger than myself to try to keep me going, keep me motivated every single day. And there were not a whole lot of resources on the coast of North Carolina for mental health of first responders. Even though I had been involved in peer support probably for about 4 years or so prior to starting my organization, didn't really have the resources around at home. So I figured what better way to keep myself going, still keep me connected to the fire service than try to assist other first responders that might be going through some of the same things that I did. So 2021, we actually got our official nonprofit status. Our 501c3 was approved, and we became that nonprofit. And it has taken off bigger than I could ever imagine. This year especially has been our biggest year to date so far with being able to help our first responders. So extremely proud of the work that we put into it every day. Yeah.
Yeah. So what all do y'all offer as far as through y'all's program?
A lot of what we do is just basic one-on-one peer-to-peer counseling. We do have we have a website, for frpsn.org, get you to our website, and then you can contact us through a chat. You can contact us through a 24-hour manned line. So you will be able to talk to a first responder anytime that you call us. But a majority of what we do is just one-on-one peer counseling. Somebody wants to be able to connect with somebody that's truly going to understand what they're going through. And that personal connection is absolutely humongous. Let that person know that they're not alone, validate what their feelings are, whether it's job related, whether it's non-job related, relationship, finances, whatever else. You pick that phone up, you're going to get somebody on the other end there that's going to listen to you. Other things that we do, clinical support. So we make a lot of clinical referrals to vetted first responder based clinicians. They have a background either as a first responder themselves or a background of working with first responders where they are trauma trained or at least at a minimum trauma informed of what the first responders are doing. So we do a pretty stringent vetting process for our clinicians.
Very important.
Making sure that they're going to be a good fit for the first responder. We hear nightmare stories, and I've been a part of it myself. You sit there and you talk to a therapist that has no idea what we do, and you start pouring your heart and soul out to them, and they're looking at you like, oh my gosh. And then our thought is, Great. I've given my therapist PTSD now from just sharing my story. So we do a lot of clinical
Sure.
referrals, treatment centers. We work with several different treatment centers up and down the East Coast here, that have first responder based programs. So there again, we know that
Yeah.
they're getting what they need, whether they need to dive into EMDR, or maybe it's some pretty hot and heavy CBT or DBT style treatments, that are geared around the first responder community. And again, it makes that first responder feel comfortable when they're in that setting, that they're around their own people. So that's absolutely humongous.
Sure. Very important to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Crisis intervention. That's something else that we offer, so departments that go to those critical incidents, they can give us a call. We can come in, we can help them do hot washes. We can do crisis management briefings, get a gauge on what the situation is. And then if need be, try to get within that 7 to 10 day wheelhouse time frame of maybe having to come in and do an actual crisis intervention with them after those critical incidents. We do a ton of training and education. So the department events, if there's seminars, things like that, we try to get to them as much as possible. Offer a variety of different classes on basic first responder mental health, how to take care of yourself, resiliency programs, how to start up a peer support program within your organization if you want, family and group classes. Pretty much, if we don't have one already put together and you have a request, we're going to put something together to suit your needs. And we find that that's one of the biggest ways to bring this to the forefront is advocate. And we do that through our educational programs, and then community outreach and support style functions. The Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, the Elks, Moose Lodges, whatever, if they're doing an event and we can assist them, we try to whenever we can. One that helps them with their functions and organizations, but also brings light to what we're trying to do of advocate for first responder mental health. So in a nutshell, those are some of the things that we cover as a peer team.
Exactly what I want Freeburn to become. So my goal is to be able to do all of that stuff. Like right now, we're doing podcasts, and then I go out and do speaking engagements for fire departments and stuff like that. I've talked about it on the podcast or academies or whatever, just to try to get that awareness level out there and let them know that putting a face to it kind of thing, that, hey, it can't happen, and it does happen. So, dealing with the mental health issue inside the fire service.
Yeah, you just mentioned something really important, the academy style setting. And that's something that we've been doing over the last couple of years, is getting involved very early in these people's careers, especially at young ages.
Very
coming
important.
in at, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, really have no idea really what they're getting into. So we let them know that the job's not all rainbows and unicorns, and you're going to see bad things, and the responses, those are normal responses to abnormal situations. And what are you going to do, or how are you going to be able to manage those if and when you're going to encounter them? So we try to jump into as many fire academies as absolutely possible. We just had a request from one of our local hospital here, asking us to be a part of their crisis response team. And we brought up talks about new hire orientation of their emergency room nurses and things like that. And they were very open to that. So we're looking forward to those types of opportunities. Yeah. So it's not just people think that it's firefighters, police officers. One that gets forgotten about a lot is the telecommunicators. So we always include them.
Absolutely.
But doctors, nurses, they see bad things too. Just a different setting where they see it.
Sure, it's not just us.
So they can also have those negative. Yeah, they can also have those.
It's all the same stuff.
Yeah, it really
Absolutely, you
is.
sure can. That's awesome, dude.
So
The academies, man, is like that to me is where it's at right now for me. It's like trying to get into the academies and talking to these new recruits that are, before they come out to the firehouses and making them aware, man. And just the feedback that I've gotten alone has been great, and that's where it's
yeah.
going to have to affect the change. Start there and then build out.
Oh,
I think.
yeah. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And the first academy that we did, it was just going and asking, hey, can we have a short time slot to come in and just talk to the first responders about who we are and what we do? And that just opened the doors.
Yep.
So the first one that we did, we had less than an hour. And now we get requests on a pretty regular basis, anywhere from 2 hours up to a full 8-hour day, where we can go in and talk to them about first responder mental health. It's huge.
That's awesome, dude. I love it. Yeah, it's huge for real. You ever look at the suicide rates? Do you track the numbers?
Oh yeah, yes, pretty regular.
Yeah. Where do you get your Where do y'all get your information from?
I follow Jeff Dill with the Firefighter Behavioral Health Alliance out in Las Vegas. Yep, that's a man.
He was
right
on our
there
podcast not too long ago.
Was he? I'll need to look that episode up. I've had the opportunity not to meet Jeff in person, but we've had several phone conversations of incidents that have taken place here locally in North Carolina, surrounding counties of where I'm at. And Jeff does an amazing job with what he does.
Dude, that guy's awesome. Yeah. I was very fortunate for him to come on and do the podcast. And, we watch that episode when you get a chance, but he kind of break into the moral injury stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen his white paper on the moral injury end of stuff, but
yes,
it's on their website. So you can look it up there. There's something to it, man.
Yeah.
That moral injury stuff,
Absolutely.
Very
there
interesting.
is.
Jeff Dill's a great guy.
And we just dealt with, we went and did a crisis management briefing just a little over a week ago now. And it was just, plastered moral injury about that call everywhere. And that was our biggest concern. They said they had people struggling. And then when I found out what the nature of the call was, I was like, this is going to be more than just, the basic bad call. This is 100% moral injury right here that your people are going to be dealing with. And sure enough, it was. But we got them taken care of. So
I'm learning more and more
that's
about
what
it.
we do.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. So you want to break into more your personal journey and kind of let us know how it all began for you? You cool with that?
Sure, man. My journey started off like a lot of other young people, since I was knee high to a grasshopper. Always had an infatuation with the fire department. Thought it was something that was really cool. And, I ended up being able to live out that dream of every little boy that they at least once in their life say, I want to be a fireman. And I had the opportunity to do that. Got my start very early, still in high school, running with a volunteer heavy rescue company up in New Jersey, not too far outside of New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Moved down to North Carolina shortly after I graduated high school. Got involved immediately with the volunteer fire department. It was a combination department in the town that I lived in, and that led to me pursuing it as a career. And so mid-90s, I got my first paid job, and that was with Atlantic Beach Fire Department. Moving throughout my career, I had the opportunity to work at several different places, several different municipal fire departments, and then I did a short stint working federal fire, working DOD.
Okay.
Not my cup of tea. Completely different when you're used to working municipal and then go and work in federal.
Sure.
And I had the opportunity to go back to the beach, and so I took that opportunity. Back for probably about 2000 and 2009 time frame that I went back to the beach, and that's where I ended up finishing
Mm-hmm.
my career. But really early on in my career, I had no idea what PTSD was. I had no idea what anxiety or depression really were. But I knew that something wasn't right with me, and
Mm-hmm.
we talk about toxic people in the firehouse a lot. Um, cultures in the firehouse, things like that, goods, bads, indifference, and the toxic people. And I didn't really even realize that I was that toxic guy, because I had no idea how to manage or
Yeah.
really understand what was going on with me. Um, and that led to a lot of bad things, to be honest with you. I am married, been married 18 years now, to an incredible woman that is also a retired first responder. And work created a lot of turmoil at home between the two of us, that we really had no idea what was going on.
Sure.
But we were both miserable individuals. And I was the same way at work. It didn't make a difference
Mm-hmm.
whether I was at work or I was at home. I was just pissed off all the time. I was a hateful individual. And it was because I was unhappy with myself and I had no idea what was going on. So we fast forward, long story short, if you go onto our website, you'll see a memoriam right on our front page, and that is to Chief Adam Snyder. Adam was not
Yep.
only
Saw
my
that.
fire chief, but he was my best friend. And Adam saved my life. Adam started opening up to me about his personal struggles, with calls that we had both been on,
Mm-hmm.
calls that he had been on without me. And he starts talking to me about anxiety, depression, fear of going on calls, not being able to sleep, nightmares, suicidal thoughts, everything else. And I was like, holy cow, how can this man, 6'3", 240 pounds, who we referred to as our Superman, pretty much, that nothing can bother this guy. He was a
Mm-hmm.
perfectionist at everything. And how can he be in this position? And he confided in me as his best friend, to open up and start to share this. And I had no idea what to do with it, to be honest with you. Looking back
Yeah.
on it, probably the best thing I should have been able to do was just open up to him and say, hey, brother, I get it, because I feel the same exact way. But I didn't. And I felt like I just needed to be there for my best friend and listen to him whenever he needed me to be there for him. So I went along
Yep.
this ride with Adam for like 3 years, where he'd call me up at home or he'd call me in the office
Mm-hmm.
at work, and he'd break down and he'd start just unloading on me. So now I was taking on his burdens as well, not knowing that was
Yep.
unhealthy for me, because I wasn't doing anything to help myself. But I wanted to be there for my best friend.
Sure.
And the thing that really pushed me over the edge, it got to a point where I didn't like who I was. I didn't like the fire service anymore. Absolutely despised my job. I'd have an internal battle every single day. I used to be that guy that would show up 30 to 40 minutes early every day, walk into the firehouse, hang out with the guys, go in the office, start to get my day going, whatever else. And I turned into that guy that would show up 1 to 2 minutes before shift change, because I would have an internal battle with myself in the parking lot of the fire station on whether or not I truly wanted to go into the firehouse, or whether I was going to sit in the truck and put a bullet in my head. And that's what I did every single
Yep.
shift. Yeah, and it was a miserable experience for me.
That
I
sounds
hated
eerily
myself.
familiar. Yeah.
And that story, that part of that story is all too familiar to a lot of people, and they keep it buried down inside.
Yeah.
And it almost cost me my life.
Yep.
And even with Adam opening up and sharing with me, I never opened up. Adam dragged me to my very first peer support class. He said, "Come on, we're going to this class." I was like, "No, I'm not going." And I was voluntold. I didn't have a choice and I had to go. And in the class, they go around,
Yep.
who are you? Why are you here? What are your interests in peer support? Blah, blah, blah. And I BS my way through it. I'm here to support my best friend, is what I said, even though I could relate to just about everything that was being said in that room that day. I wasn't being honest with myself. And what really pushed me over the edge was 2018 Hurricane Florence came blowing through the eastern part of North Carolina. I'd been through a lot of natural disasters throughout my career, other major hurricane events, things like that. But this one was different for me. We were looking at potential Category 4 storm making direct landfall in Carteret County. And it was the first major storm that my wife and I had been together since we'd been married, that we had been through. And I was scared to death. I didn't think that we were going to survive this storm. And it really pushed me over the edge, to the point where I had attempted taking my life the morning before I was supposed to report to work. Adam, I made a phone call, and I called Adam, and Adam came and saved my life that morning. He protected me throughout that storm. He said, "I don't know how, but we're going to be okay." And I took his word for it, and we were.
Yeah.
And that was my first step of opening up, asking for help. And Adam paved the way for me. So for the next 6 months after that, I was still a miserable individual, but I felt like I had somebody that could truly understand what was going on. Even though my wife was a first responder, we couldn't really relate on the same level. Not like Adam and I could. And so for the next 6 months, Adam, whenever I reported to work, the first 30, 45 minutes of my day consisted of sitting in the office with Adam. And it was Eric Adam time. It wasn't chief to captain. It was making sure that we were both okay, pretty much doing a buddy check. And March of 2019, we did that for 6 months. And in March of 2019, we lost Adam in a tragic skiing accident. He took a vacation one weekend, him and his son, and Adam had a horrific accident. And I ended up losing my best friend. The department lost a huge pillar. Our leader and the community lost a great individual. But I was absolutely devastated. And that put me in a horrible tailspin. Had no idea what to do with it. And I ended up seeking some help. Had no idea what to do, but I knew I needed to do something because I didn't like what my possibilities were. I thought that I was destined to one of two things. I was living a life of absolute misery, or I was going to die by my own hands, and I didn't like either one of those options. And so I took it upon myself to ask for help. I was still seeking help through therapy, but that's why it's so important, like we talked about earlier, of having vetted clinicians. Really what I was doing with my therapist was talk therapy. We weren't dealing with any of my trauma.
Yeah.
We weren't dealing with any of the loss, the grief, the anxiety, the suicidal thoughts. It was just going in once a week, sitting down, and just having a release. We were not actually getting to the root cause of what my problems were. So still having my suicidal thoughts, I was like, I can't do this anymore. We're not making a whole lot of forward progress, even though that therapist did serve a huge part of my life. She helped keep me alive. You know, that's what I needed at that particular point, but we weren't actually resolving problems. So we did find a treatment center. I went to the USP program at Brattleboro in Brattleboro, Vermont. I spent 6.5 weeks up there, felt great, learned a lot of things about myself that I had lost complete track of. Self-identification. Yeah, I self-identified as a job for so long that I lost track of who I was as a person. Everything was a job to me.
I know how
lived
that
it,
is.
breathed it, ate it. Days on, days off, it didn't make a difference. Fireman, 24 hours a day. I had no separation. I didn't know how to separate it. I thought that was normal. And when I went to Vermont, they showed me a lot of things. They reintroduced me to who I was. That I had forgot that I was a husband. Yeah, I forgot that I was a provider for my wife. And contrary to who you might talk to, I'm a genuine, kind-hearted individual. And I'd lost all track of that. And while I was there, I realized something very important. I made the second toughest decision of my life. First hardest decision was actually admitting I had a problem and that I needed help and that I couldn't solve this problem on my own. And my second hardest decision was to walk away from the fire department. I didn't see a way for me to continue to heal and recover from my previous traumas if I was still subjecting myself to the same trauma that got me there in the first place. I know a lot of people that have been successful in the recovery processes and still on the job.
How many years?
How many years did I have at that point?
Did you have in when you walked away?
25 when I walked away. 25 years when I walked away total. And so I do know people that are still on the job, still have some of the same diagnosis that I do, and they're very successful. I didn't see that in my future, and that the best decision that I could make for myself and for my family was to give up my career. And there's I don't regret the decision. I've questioned the decision, but do I regret it? Absolutely not. Because I've been able to do things in that process to help other first responders as well. My retirement was not as easy as I thought it was going to be. Ended up in just shy of a 2-year lawsuit with several different entities in the North Carolina government, trying to get a medical disability granted for PTSD and psychological traumas. It was horrible. It was not an easy task to get that done, which put me in another downward spiral. Put me in some of the worst depression I've ever been in. That was right around the 2020 timeframe of COVID when it first reared its ugly head. And so there was COVID and then the lawsuit, self-isolation, you name it. And it put me in some of the worst depression I'd ever been in. And I was having dinner with my wife one night and she says, I look up at her and I could see tears welled up in her eyes. And she just looks at me. She says, do you think it's time to go back? And I just had this huge relief come over me. Like, thank God. I said, how long have you known? She said, I've known for a while. I said, why didn't you say anything? She said, better question is, why didn't you say anything? And I was like, whoa, you know, and you name it, you could put every check in the box of why I didn't want to say anything, especially the second time. I felt like a failure. I felt like I had let myself down. I felt like I'd let my wife down. I I had been somewhere. It didn't quote unquote fix me. And really what it was a combination of a whole lot of things. I had quit doing my self-care. I wasn't doing what I needed
Yep.
to every day to maintain. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. Um, and it was miserable. So I ended up going back to Vermont. The USP program had shut down during COVID and they never reopened. But some of the therapists that were there, some of the
Mhm.
counselors, they ventured out on their own and they started Frontline Foundations in North America, which is in Bellows Falls, Vermont. And I just had a conversation one day. I got a cold call from one of my therapists just checking in on me from up there. And I let her know. I said, I'm not doing
Mhm.
well. I've relapsed really bad and I'm looking for somewhere else to go. And she says, well, you're in luck. And I'm glad that I called you today. We opened up Frontline. And if you want to come back up, come on back up. And they treated me for 2.5 weeks for free.
It's funny how that happens, isn't it?
Yes. And I don't believe in coincidence. I believe that things happen for a certain reason.
No, I don't either, brother. Yeah.
I believe that that phone call was meant to be that day. So I ended up going
Yeah.
back. It was a year to the day that I had been there. And off I go back to Vermont. And that was my 2-week tune-up, as I refer to it as. And things really sunk into
Yeah.
me my second time there. And I came back and I hit the
Yep.
ground running. I learned while I was there the second time, I learned how to set personal boundaries for myself. And that was huge. That was a huge key in my
Yeah.
recovery at that,
So the first time that you went through, the first time you went through, did you do any type of EMDR therapy?
Not up there. I had tried EMDR back at home before I went to Vermont,
Mhm.
and I had a horrible experience with it. And later on down the road, I
Did you
found
really?
out that we really, yes. My first EMDR session, I walked out of that office feeling 10 times worse than when I had walked in, and contemplated killing myself in the truck in the parking lot after that appointment. It was a horrible experience for me.
Wow, bro.
And later on down the road, what we found out was that, excuse me, I did not do true EMDR. What they did was
Okay.
reimagination exposure therapy with me, which compounded. We didn't
Yep.
do any resourcing. They didn't give me any skills, nothing like that. And it was a bad experience for me. Here recently, over the last
Man, I
9
hate
or
that.
10 months, yeah, it was bad. It put a bad taste in my mouth. Never discouraged other people, though, from giving it a try, because, just because it didn't work for me doesn't mean it doesn't work for somebody
Sure.
else. But there was no way I was ever going to go back and do it until I met the number 2 ranked trauma
Yeah.
therapist in North Carolina. And he explained the EMDR process to me. The 7 different steps, the 7 different phases of it. This is what we're going to do. This is how it's going to work, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And to be honest with you, it has changed my life. This therapist has done things
Yep.
in the last 9 months that my previous therapist could not accomplish in over 4.5 years. So it's been amazing. We don't do a whole lot of EMDR processing anymore because we have a lot of that under control through now doing a lot of cognitive behavioral health sessions. I know how to CBT
Yep.
on my own at home, and how to manage and how to mitigate and how to resolve and how to maintain, self-regulate, things like that. It's been
Sure.
it's been quite an adventure. And I've had a lot of people ask me, would I do another 25, 25 years on the job? Would I do it again? And at first the answer was no, absolutely not. No way I'd put myself through that ever again. But now, because I can think clearly, I spend most of my time in the frontal cortex of my brain now instead of the limbic system of my brain. And yes, absolutely, I would do it again.
Yep.
And there would be a ton of changes. Talking.
Sure.
That's the big one. Talk about those calls. Doesn't make a difference.
That's
We
the
don't
most
wear
important
a big
one. Yeah.
Dude, we don't wear a big S on our chest. We don't have a cape hanging out the back of our turnout coat. We're not superhuman. We hurt just like everybody else. We have feelings just like everybody else. Talk about what's going on. Be honest about it and talk about it.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I would do it again. And those would be my biggest changes right there.
Yeah. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch my podcast, my personal one. It's the very first one, but man, very similar stuff. I went through it twice. The first time that I went through it, very similar to you. It was like I went to a counselor and it saved me at that time, right? But I'd never really dealt with,
right.
I think I did 4 sessions with her. Didn't deal with the core issues, right? And then, you know, fast forward to, what was it? I guess about 4 years later, I'd been on medicine too. So my medicine stopped working. And then, you know, I did a med switch, which kind of messed me up too. But then I found another counselor, vetted counselor, started doing cognitive behavioral therapy with her and then EMDR therapy, and changed my life, man. I mean, it really did.
And it's amazing what it can do when it's done correctly. It can and it will save lives. You mentioned your department not having resources. We field a lot of those calls where we'll get a phone call, hey, my department doesn't have EAP, or I've gone and talked to my chief and they don't know what to do with me. They don't know of any counselors, whatever else. We set ourselves up for failure in the fire service, in emergency services in general. Of we teach you how to do the job. We teach you every aspect of the job. Firemen, we teach you how to fight fire. We teach you how to do searches. Police officers, how to write tickets, do traffic stops, how to arrest people, you name it. We teach you every aspect of the job, but what we don't teach you is what to do with it after your shift is over, or after you encounter that bad call. What are you going to do with this stuff? Why don't we teach that? And that's why what we mentioned earlier, getting into the fire academies and, hitting them early with this, that it's okay. And also departments not having anything in place, no health and wellness when it comes to the mental health side of it. Everything's physical health. You got to eat right. You got to work out, this and that. But what do we have in place when we do encounter those bad calls? Do we have those resources? Do we have vetted clinicians that if we have somebody coming and saying, hey, I'm struggling with this call from 6 months ago and I can't sleep at night. Okay, more than likely, we're not going to be able to resolve that just sitting down talking about it. Why don't these departments and these organizations have this stuff already in place? We're very reactive. We're not very proactive when it's coming to this stuff. And, I always like to tell people we're good at helping others, but we suck at taking care of ourselves most of the time. And we need to be better. We truly
do. That's 100% true.
And, you look at the life expectancy of a paramedic, nationwide, the career lifespan of a paramedic, 7 to 10 years. And it's more towards the lower end of that. Did they come in and they're just getting hammered, and they'll get burnt out, or they'll have PTSD, or it'll lead to a substance abuse issue, divorce, suicide, whatever. We got to make sure we're taking care of our people. They're not robots.
No,
we struggle with that every day. And that's why we do what we do. We fight and we advocate every day.
Our program, we finally got our program up and running our peer support program through our department, and our oversight is through the readiness group. I've talked a little bit about them on other episodes, but awesome group, helped us tremendously. They do all of our oversight, our training, everything, and just to have that program there and being utilized now by different guys, it's been amazing, dude, just to see the difference, you know. And we still have a long way to go, but now we have those resources there and available, you know. So getting better every day.
And that's humongous, man. And it, you know, you got to crawl before you walk, and you got to walk before you run, you know. And so those little wins right there, knowing that you have people that are utilizing those resources, that's fantastic. You know, the individual, you know, the peer groups that I'll hold every once in a while are peer group meetings. I actually need to organize one. Haven't had one in quite a while, but I'll have anywhere from 1 to 10 people show up. You know, we hold them in a neutral location. You can come in, you can talk about whatever you want. It's a confidential, safe environment. And you'd be amazed when we get people come in and they'll look and say, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing here?" You know, recognizing people, you know, from other departments, other agencies, whatever else. And it's like, man, I've been coming to these for, you know, this is my 4th one. This is my 10th one. This is my first one. And it's like, wow, you know, I would have never expected to see you at one of these meetings. Well, guess what? I didn't expect to see you either, but come on in, sit down, and let's have fun tonight. I've got one individual that I call Old Faithful. And he's asked me before, because it's been just me and him sitting in a room, and he'll ask the question, "Why do you keep holding these meetings if nobody shows up?" I said, "Well, you showed up, you know, just one person. That's all I need. Yeah. And I know that I'm making a difference in what I do. So keep coming, keep telling your friends, keep inviting them." Exactly. So that's awesome that you guys got those resources and people are using them. Yeah, because that's one of the biggest things that we fight, that stigma attached with it. I'm okay. Yeah.
That's what it's all about, dude. Yep. And I guarantee you there's a lot more out there that are struggling, that just don't want to step up because of that stigma. And that, you know, that's exactly why I do what I do with Freeburn, is just putting a face to it, saying, "Hey guys, it's real. It can happen to you. It can reach up and bite you in the butt before you know it. And when it gets a hold of you, man, it's scary as hell. And we're there, you know, just to help y'all get through it. I mean, we're not clinicians, but we know them. We know clinicians that can help you. We got them. They're vetted. Let's get you to the right people and get you some help as soon as possible, you know." And that's what it's all about for me, man, for sure, 100%.
Having that lived experience sometimes is better than having a credential or a bunch of initials before or after your name. You know, that relatability.
I agree with you 100%.
Of somebody. You know, that is absolutely huge. You know, that there's nobody better to talk to than somebody that's walked down that path already, or is still possibly on that path. And you can relate to them.
Yep.
They can validate your experience. They can validate your feelings. And hopefully what they can do is offer you some hope. You know, when you get to that point where you feel like there is nothing there, they can offer that little bit of light, that little bit of hope. And that might be just what that individual needs to keep on going that day. So I'm extremely thankful for organizations like yours and what we've been able to do.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good stuff, dude. Like, yeah, you just got to keep on keeping on. I took a little small break there, and I still go to therapy. You know, I still do it, and because I see the value in it, and it helps me have good days and I have bad days. You know, it's just the way life is. But yeah, my passion's here, man. I'm not going to stop. I got to keep pushing forward. You know, and like you said, just that one person. If you can just get a hold of that one person, that's what it's about.
If we don't advocate for it, nobody else is going to. You know, so yeah, the
Mm-mm.
people with the lived experiences, with the pasts, with the positive outcomes of the recovery journey. Um, those are the ones that are going to make a true impact on the people that are struggling, that might be a little hesitant or nervous or scared to speak up. I used to be ashamed of my story. My therapist in a town where I know a lot of the people in that town, and I would park 2 blocks away on the back side of the building and
Yeah.
go in through the back door because I was embarrassed if anybody saw me going into that office. Now
Yeah.
I can go talk at seminars. I can go talk at local fire departments. I can go wherever, and sit here on a podcast with you. We've had one phone conversation prior to this, and it's like, yeah,
Yep.
why? Because I know that we're doing good things by doing it, and if we don't,
Yep.
people might suffer. So I always tell people
Sure.
that I recover out loud for the people that suffer in silence now. That's one way for me to
That's
hopefully
me,
be able
100%,
to
brother.
reach somebody and help them. So
Yep.
yeah, man.
Yep.
I love
I'm
these
willing to
style
carry that if it's going
opportunities
to help
right
some
here.
other guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I want to dive into something real quick. Whenever you retired and then you did did you go through the workers' comp? Is that what you did?
I did
Or you
go
got
through workers'
disability? Is that what it
compensation.
was?
Yes. And then I was picked up under workman's compensation first. And then after I returned back from Vermont the first time, I decided that I was going to file for medical disability retirement because I was clinically diagnosed, things like that. And that's where things took an ugly turn. But we came out on top.
Yeah.
So
Like Texas, I know in Texas they have laws written in for workers' comp stuff. And
Mhm.
I don't really know a lot of people, or I've heard of a lot of people, firefighters or police officers that have done medically retired, on their disability. And I know that the ones that I've heard of, it's been a challenge, So that's
Yes.
something else, like what needs to change, to make that, if a dude needs that, or, brother or sister needs that, is it going to be a constant battle from here out, or are there things that we need to change to make that happen? I don't know. I don't know what the
And
answers are.
that does need to change, and it needs to change at the legislative level. That when I went through the process, workman's comp did not want to pick me up at first. Not a
Yep.
trip, slip, or fall. Not a trip, slip, or fall. We're not going to pick you up for PTSD or whatever else. No anxiety, no depression. And really what it came down to, the way I was perceiving it, was that I did not have a visible injury. My injury was all
Yeah.
inside. It was in my body. It was in my
Sure.
mind. And it was still an injury though. And that was
Yep.
hard, going through my process. Since my process, North Carolina now has a state bill in place for workman's comp and first responders, that you're now covered for PTSD, psychological, behavioral health injuries that can be proven job related.
Yep.
Which
Same in
is
Texas.
absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
So we still fight with it every once in a while, though. I had somebody not too long ago, tell me that they were going through the process and that workman's comp was not going to pick them up for their PTSD claim. And it was like, well, here you go. You need to look this up. And whoever is assisting you with your paperwork, you need to give them this. And so we're still fighting an uphill battle. Benefits of being able to medically retire, they need to be there if that's the case. our injury, just because it's not visible, does not mean that it's not a career-ending disability sometimes, career-ending injury
Sure.
sometimes.
Yep.
And if it's needed, it needs to be in place for these individuals that have put their life into this profession. You know, they have poured their life into this job, and to be turned away or turned down of benefits that should be able to be provided to them needs to be there. And the only way that we can do that is to fight. You know, so if you have
Yep.
first responder legislative days, you need to attend. You need to be talking to your congressman. You need to be talking to your senators, your representatives, local government, state level. You know, get the ball rolling anyway. Be that thorn in their side. Yeah, that might be what needs to happen. You know, they always say that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So be that squeaky wheel. You know,
Yep.
make it happen. Make a difference.
Yep. 100%. Sure. Yeah. That's cool, man. Yeah. I know we got a lot of work to do. You know, the advocates out there. I think it's getting better, but we're not there yet. I mean, you look at the numbers on Jeff Deal's website, and they're steadily climbing every day, and I hate it.
Right.
You know, but
yes,
we just got to keep on keeping on, man, and we can't quit. You know, it's just
that's right.
the brothers and sisters out there need to know that they have avenues besides suicide, and we just got to keep going, man. Keep plugging, for sure.
That's right, and keep going. That's I try to make a Facebook post every day on our social media page, the First Responders Peer Support Network page, and
yep,
the bottom line on every one of my posts is, we're here for you. Keep going. You know, you have to keep going. You know, you mentioned good days, bad days. The positive mindset of that I try not to have bad days anymore. You know, some days that's easier than others, but I refer to the tough situations as speed bumps now throughout my day. And it does make a difference how big that speed bump is. I'm not going to let it, I'm going to try my hardest not to allow it to ruin the rest of my day. You know, figure out what it was that caused that particular feeling or whatever else. And the only way I've been able to do that is through self-care and through seeking mental health, professional mental health help. And you know, I can have one speed bump or I can have 10 speed bumps throughout my day, but I try not to have bad days anymore. You know, it's not worth it to me.
Yeah.
I want to be happy.
I'm right there with you.
I spent so much of my life being unhappy and being miserable that I'm not going to let, oh man, I missed a truck payment, or, oh my gosh, the dog was supposed to be to the vet 45 minutes ago and I missed that appointment. Guess what? I can make another appointment. You know, I can call and ask for grace
important things in life
on having a late payment, you know, and I try to be happy now as much as absolutely possible. And I just turned 50 years old over the summer. I don't know how many more days that I have left. Hopefully it's a bunch, and I'm going to make the most of them. You know, whether it's just one more or I got 100 more, you know, 100 more years ahead of me. I don't know, but I'm going to make the best out of every single one of them. And to me, it's not worth being unhappy.
Yeah. I learn every day, man. I had, you know, I shared with you that I just got over COVID a few weeks back, and man, just that right there alone kind of set me back a little bit, and you know, mental health wise, and it was just like so much other stuff came back from when I was out for the 4 or 5 months during that COVID period of time. So it kind of brought some stuff back for me, and I just said, you know what, I got to take a break for a little bit. So took a break from podcasting, hopped back into therapy, and it's exactly what I needed to do. And now I'm back on track, and I feel awesome, you know. So
being able to recognize that,
hold on to me for very long anymore.
You know, and being able to recognize it. Okay, that's that's half
Mm-hmm.
the problem right there, right? We've recognized it. Now what do we need to do to
Yep.
change it? And we've got two choices.
Mm-hmm.
We can either do something or we can do nothing. If we decide to do something, I always break it down to wise or unwise decisions. What's going to be best for this particular situation right here, healthy versus unhealthy. And you
Yep.
take whatever that course of action is going to be, but do something. And having those little setbacks, it's amazing how fast this stuff can creep back up on us if we are not staying on top of it. It's every single day.
Yep.
Self-care routine. Any type
Mm-hmm.
of recovery, whether it's mental health, whether it's addiction, whether it's substance abuse, whatever. The key to recovery is routine. And if we don't have a good daily
Yep.
routine, that's what set me back the first time, was that I had quit doing my self-care. I thought I
Yep.
was okay. And before I knew it, one day led into 2 days of not doing self-care. 2 days led into 3 days. 3 days led into 2 weeks. And next thing I know, now I'm back up to my eyeballs at the snap of a finger that quick. And oh my gosh, I
Sure. Yep.
cannot recover out of this tailspin on my own right now. So routine. I've got a daily routine I do every single day.
Yep.
And I feel that quote unquote disturbance in the force when I when I don't do my self-care.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I make sure that I'm on
That's
top
awesome
of it
stuff,
every
dude.
day.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
important.
Yep.
Yeah, very important to do that
Has to
stuff.
be there.
Well, man, wrapping up, what is one thing that you can add for somebody that's going through these struggles? Like one very important thing that you can add.
Reach out to somebody. I don't care who it is. It can be your spouse. It can be your best friend. It can be the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus. I don't care. Reach out, make a
Yep.
phone call, go sit down and talk with somebody. It might not be easy. And I know that firsthand. You know that firsthand. But it could be the one thing that truly changes your life and starts to turn your life around. Do not be afraid to open up and to talk. Ask for help. It's there, non-judgmental, and it can change your life.
I agree with you 100%. Because it
Thank you.
changed mine. It was
Yep.
probably one of the hardest things that I had to do. Didn't have to do, but what I did. And I learned more about myself. I learned more about people. I became a father again. I became a husband again. I became a firefighter again. It was life-changing for me. It was the hardest thing I've ever been through. But
And
man, reaching out,
looking back at
that's
it,
the first step.
when you look back at it, do you ever ask yourself, man, why did I wait so long? Why did it
Absolutely,
take
I
me
do.
so long? Yeah. Why did it take me so long to ask for help?
Yeah.
I do that.
Let me
And
tell you what
then,
it was for me.
Mhm.
It was not understanding it, man. Like not understanding what I was going through, because just didn't know what the hell was going on. Why was I feeling like this? And that's why I think being an advocate like me and you are doing, and going out and letting people know, whether it's through academies or fire departments or wherever we can get out and speak about this stuff, and bringing it to the forefront and saying, hey, it's real. It can happen to you. And if it does, don't be afraid to step up. Don't be afraid to step out and ask for help. It's not a weakness. A lot of people perceive it like that, but it's probably one of the strongest things you can do as an individual
I
when
was
you're at
just going
rock
to say
bottom.
those exact words. Yep. And, you know, that not understanding, not understanding what's going on with yourself, our job, is based around chaos most of the time. going and handling these situations, these jobs that we go to. It's around chaos, and we're problem solvers. And when we can't solve a problem within ourselves, that's completely foreign to us, but that loss of control, what do? I feel like I have no control over my emotions, my thoughts, my behaviors, whatever. That's scary. And we perceive everything at that point as a threat. And that's the mindset that we're in. And what do we do? We try to power through, we try to push through, and I'm going to be okay. No, you're not. Break down that barrier, take that mask off, let people see who you truly are, what you're truly going through, and show some vulnerability. I don't know what to do. I'm to a point where I have no idea what to do. I need help. Please help me. Mayday training. We teach everybody in the fire service when, where, how to call a mayday, the reason behind it, and everything else. Call that mental mayday. Here it is. I've met a parameter. Here it is. I'm anxious. I'm depressed. I'm having trouble sleeping. I'm having nightmares. Ding, ding, ding. Ask for help. Mayday, mayday,
Dude, I
mayday.
love that. That is awesome. I love the way you put that.
I need help, and we don't. And
Dude,
unfortunately, we end up losing a lot of people every single year because of it.
If I use that, I'm going to say Eric Stevens told me that, and he let me use it. All right.
Man, it's sad, man. It really is. But I'm very thankful for everything that I've been able to experience throughout my career. The opportunities, the great opportunities that have been afforded to me because of my struggles, because of what I went through, being able to head up this peer team, having great people on the team with me that support what I'm doing, my supportive wife, being able to start the All Clear podcast, partnered up with the North Carolina Firefighter Cancer Alliance. And all we do is talk about firefighter health and wellness. It's like, man, this
awesome.
is great. The phone rings every single day of somebody wanting to connect with us, on the peer level. And it's like, yes, we're doing good things, and it's worth those struggles, those rough times, the rough patches, whatever else. At the end of the day, though, I know I can lay my head down every single night and know that I've done good things. And to me, that makes it all, everything I've been through makes it all worth it to me.
Yep. But dude, it's a privilege for me to know you now and to be able to call you a friend and a coworker, however you want to say it, use me as a resource here in Texas, man. If you ever need me, I'll definitely, be using y'all. We're trying to spread out as much as we can, and just try to help as many. And I know y'all are doing the same thing. So it's good to know that there's other guys out there that have the same passion. And I love it, man. Thank you for waiting, for as long as you did to get on the podcast. I know I took a little bit off, but I'm glad you were willing to come back and hop on, man. I think it's very exciting for me.
I think our first phone call was about 2 months ago or so. But absolutely, man. I appreciate the opportunity. This has been absolutely amazing. And reiterate the same things that you said, definitely consider you a brother, and you guys keep fighting a good fight. Keep up what you're doing. You're doing good things. You're going to change and save people's lives, man. And that's what it's all about.
I appreciate that, dude. Yeah.
Would you mind if I threw some contact information out there about the team? If people would like to get in touch with us,
please do it.
If anybody that's listening would like to contact our team or contact me personally, it is First Responders Peer Support Network. You can find us on social media. We have a Facebook page. But our 24-hour assistance number, 833-377-7648. and our email address is info@frpsn.org. So please,
Awesome, dude.
if you've had any thoughts of wanting to talk to somebody or been hesitant in wanting to talk to somebody, please reach out to us. We can point you in the right direction. We'll be that listening ear for you, and we're here for you. So we want to see everybody have a happy and healthy career. So please don't hesitate in reaching out to us if need be. I appreciate the time, Matt.
Love it, man.
It has been terrific,
Dude. I love it. I will put all that information in on the podcast too, is under the footer with all the other information.
Sounds
in there.
good.
So make sure that that's in there.
Awesome, brother.
Yeah. Like I say, every podcast, man, if there's anybody out there that is struggling, having suicide ideations, whatever it may be, if you're struggling with mental health stuff, man, and you're just having a hard time, 988 is the suicide prevention and lifeline. Or call us, reach out through our social media, we're here. We'll try to find you the help. We will find you the help. If we don't know personally, we're going to get you to the right people. Yeah, don't be afraid to reach out, man. I'm telling you, it's life-changing. The struggle's real, and you can get through it. There is hope out there. I'm telling you, you got two guys sitting right here on this podcast that have been in that valley, deep valley sometimes, and look at us now. I mean, it can happen. I've seen it too many times, man. People pull through, and then they're, on the other side of it. It's great. Not saying that you might not have struggles sometimes. You still may have struggles, but you get the tools to be able to work through those struggles, and that's what's the most important part of it. And just knowing people are out there and care, and yeah, we're willing to help you in any way that we can. So, Brother Eric, man, I appreciate you, dude.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Matt.
And
yes,
yeah,
we'll get you on all clear
resource off of each other. Yeah, absolutely, bro. I'm excited about that. Yeah,
me too.
All right, dude. Well, thank you for coming on.
Alrighty.
Have a blessed holidays, and we'll be talking.
Thank you. You too. Yes, sir.
All right. See you, folks. Thanks for tuning in to the Free Burn 2023 podcast. If you or somebody you know is in crisis, reach out to the Suicide Crisis Lifeline at 988. Or if you're looking for counseling resources, contact us at freeburn2023@gmail.com. We'll do our best to get you to where you need to be. Let's keep burning that stigma, one podcast at a time.